All right, welcome to the latest edition of the FPL America podcast. This is David Smith.
Travis Hoig.
Brian Chesko.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure seeing you, except today we are obviously not together in the studio. I am in Florida, and it is nice and about 67 degrees outside. It's kind of cloudy. There's a fountain in the background, so I don't know if you hear that, but I'm at my in-laws' house.
You definitely hear it.
Little pond in the back here with some white egrets and some alligators and a fountain. So if you hear that fountain, I apologize for that.
I'd rather hear the alligators.
But as it is Christmas Eve, I would rather see an alligator, actually. That could always be fun. As it's Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas to everyone. Gentlemen, our goal was to come down to Florida on Sunday. And I had told my wife we had family in town kind of all week, and there was many things that needed to be done along with cleaning. We're having someone house sit for our dog and cats while we're gone, and a lot of things need to be done. So I told my wife, I said, hey, listen, we do not need to stress. We have a 12-hour drive plus our Yukon, our 2013 Yukon, which had gotten hit by a deer, literally hit by a deer. The deer hit us, not the other way around. We thought was going to be fixed. It was not repaired. So we had to take my four-door truck to Florida. So 5 of us in a four-door truck don't really have all the room to stretch out that we normally do.
Do you have to stop every 5 miles to fill back up?
Well, I had to stop, let's see, once, twice. It was, I had to stop twice for gas. So it was a 12-hour drive.
At Buc-ee's both times.
We did. So I from door to door, from my door to Florence, South Carolina, Buc-ee's, the closest Buc-ee's.
Wow.
4 hours, almost identical. I made it there, and then we made it to the next Buc-ee's barely with 12 miles left.
Oh, wow.
In St. Augustine. And
your kids would have pushed if they wouldn't have made it.
The next time. So 2 stops. We drove through the night. Gentlemen, I haven't driven through the night in a long time. We drove through the night and got here almost a little over 12 hours. So the nice thing about it was, well, number one, I stayed awake, so that's a good thing. Number two, traffic was a lot less. In fact, it was actually somewhat enjoyable making the drive. The last couple of long drives we've made have been absolutely brutal on either 85 or 95 going south. So enough about me, gentlemen, but I am away for the holidays. You guys, I believe, are in town. Are you going anywhere?
Nope.
Well, Dave, nobody, unless Travis, you've been to a Buc-ee's. I've never even seen one.
I have seen one. I've never been to one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
don't want you to. You don't have to explain all of.
I think everyone needs to know.
But
yeah.
I just feel like it's one of the places that it's like the kind of on the list of the European mind cannot comprehend.
Yeah, well, a lot of the American mind can't comprehend. So
that's Buc-ee's is one of those things, and you don't need to go into it a lot because we got a lot to talk about.
We do. I'll say this: the American mind has a tough time comprehending Buc-ee's, and unless you're Travis, I'm getting a little weird something in the background. I don't know if you can hear it. Continues to get worse as I talk.
Well, it could just be that you're talking.
Well, no, now you're sounding like there's some computer fuzz in the background. Anyways, all right. Bottom line is, Buc-ee's is crazy unless you're from Texas, and it's the most massive gas station that you could ever imagine. With it's pretty much about 4 different types of stores inside. So, anyways, all that being said, Brian, what are we here to do? What are we here to talk about?
There's a bunch of things to talk about, but there's really one main one and then some secondary things to nail down. But the big one, of course, was Bukayo Saka. You're about to get really festive here because Game Week 18 kicks off Boxing Day, 7:30 in the morning. All the 2 are on Thursday and Friday. And then by the time we would decide to come back again, Game Week 19 will kick off with everyone but Manchester City or everyone with Brentford and Arsenal kicking off on Sunday and Monday for game week 19. So there's a lot of games piled up here by the time we would ever even talk to each other again.
Okay.
So you might have some decisions to make.
Yeah, there's going to be some things to do. All right, Travis, we want to start with if Saka has a boo-boo.
Saka has a boo-boo.
Gentlemen,
it didn't look good.
Arsenal fan,
Yeah, it didn't look good.
Bukayo Saka is out for maybe till mid-February. Looks like a couple months.
Is that a hamstring injury? Is that what it is?
Yes, hamstring injury, absolutely. And, man, that is not good. And even, I feel like, even when people do come back from that, it's still difficult. And, like, for them to just to come right back in and continue the form they're on. He's been on fantastic form. So, I honestly, there's a part of me that almost thinks fantasy-wise, this might be enough to knock him out for the rest of the fantasy season.
Or at least a
Maybe
good
until,
chunk
say,
of it.
the very end.
Yeah. So,
You think it's that long? I mean, I did hear managers say many weeks.
yeah, but also Arteta is like that. He's pretty dramatic in order to try and throw people off. So I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't as bad as he's letting on. But all the noises, and Dave, you obviously have confirmed this to be likely true, but all the noises seem like it is many weeks. It's likely many weeks, regardless of whatever games Arteta might be trying to play. That said, on a hamstring injury, you have a number of different factors that tend to play in. Number one, the infamous setback, right? On a hamstring injury, you can't run, right? And so it's a matter of waiting, working with the physios on rehab to get to the point where you can get back on grass and start to run, and then work to try not to re-injure that hamstring before you're ready to get back in, right? But even then, once you are ready to get back in, you haven't been running, you haven't been on grass, so then you have a fitness issue, right? And so the tendency is to not want to go slow, but if you don't go slow, then you're more likely to have a setback during recovery, or as we saw it with, just because I'm a homer, Allison, re-injuring that hamstring immediately after returning, right? So you do the hard work, you get through rehab, and then you get through a game, maybe two, and then all of a sudden it's a bridge too far. So to that end, it could be a while if they do the right thing and keep him out. But the big thing here is making sure that he's able to actually get back in before the end of the season.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it, and I think Arsenal just need to. I said this. I think Saka's replaceable. Not exactly, not 100%, but I think what he brings to the team is easier to replace than what Odegaard brings to the team. Just like I think replacing Salah with Liverpool's offensive firepower would be easier than trying to replace Gravenberch or McAllister. Right? So, what they bring to the team, it's just like City and Rodri. They have a harder time replacing Rodri than they do De Bruyne. I mean, they've been playing most of the season without De Bruyne, and they don't even seem like they're very eager to bring him in. So, I don't even know how much of a factor he is on the City team, period, going forward. Is he turned into a glorified sub now? Has he truly lost his starting position? Who knows what even is ever going on with that guy. Anyways, all that being said, so I think Arsenal as a team, look, it's always, you're not going to be as good as you could be without your star talisman. I don't think it's inarguable that he's the talisman for Arsenal. His goal involvements this year leads the team, and we're going to sorely miss him, but I think, and I hope, we're going to be able to come out on the other side. But it's not going to be easy.
So with that in mind, obviously we've just, we're shouting sky is falling on Saka here. That's an expensive asset. that is now no longer viable, at least for the foreseeable future. What direction are we going with that money?
Brian, you go ahead and then I'll go. Just because I've read a lot of other pundits, and I'm not sure I agree with any of them. I mean, yeah, sure, I agree with some of the opinions, but they seem to be leaving out a name for me that seems like it should be number one.
Well, I mean, I think one of the, it kind of depends on how you want to shake out the points, I guess, and who's actually scored goals. I'd just say 4 weeks as that's typically where we go with form or whatever. So, actually, your number one replacement in the last 4 weeks would be somebody that no one is going to get, and that's Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
35 points in the last 4 games, 3 goals, 3 assists. So
most of that in the last 2, though, right? Like, that's a little bit concerning, isn't it?
I just feel like he's on the list. I mean, he's cracking the top 15 for midfield transfers in, but it's not like, 3 weeks, because he got his 2 assists were against Brentford 3 weeks ago. So he's one of those guys. I mean, did you have him at the beginning of the season? Like, I think I had him maybe in there.
I think I had him for a week or so.
I've never owned him.
Yeah, it's because he got benched 2 of the first 3 game weeks, and game week 2 when he started, he only played 57 minutes.
He came out hot in preseason.
Yeah, and now this is 4 straight starts after he had been out for a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
So, but no, Dave, I know what you're saying. I think Sarr on points, Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
He's got 28 in the last 4 games.
Sarr's been unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's who I actually put in.
Oh, it's Mario Sarr. Yeah. Sorry.
Not to jump into the transfers already, but that I wanted to. Since I am losing ground, despite Green Arrows, still losing ground in rank because I didn't have Isak. I wanted to beat Isak's price rise again, or all of the price rises he's had. I've missed all of them but one. So to get him in, I had to make that decision before changes last night, and I replaced Raul Jimenez. I didn't replace Cunha. I know that's the guy everybody was replacing, but Jimenez went out, so it left me only a little bit of money. The star was the guy. I couldn't, Dave. I know the guy you want is James Maddison.
I think so.
Maddison on 27 points in the last 4 games. We've talked about him a lot. I just didn't have the money to go there, or I might have done that.
Do you have Saka? You have Saka money you're selling?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, to go from Raul Jimenez to Isak, I only had like 7.2 or something like that. So
you didn't have Saka.
I did have Saka.
You did have Saka.
That's what I'm saying. Saka out only left me with
7.2.
A little over a 7. So
okay.
All of the top transfers are Luis Diaz and James Maddison. So I couldn't get either of those guys. I couldn't, even if I wanted to get Bumo back in, I didn't have the money for him either. So it really was down to those, like, is it Amad Diallo, Enzo, kind of is it the cheaper guys. And Dave, you would have had to talk me into like Martinelli. You know what I mean? Like, so all of like the more closer to $7 guys, like none of them were crazy appealing to me. That's been the big thing, I think, in the discourse with getting like who to replace him with. It really doesn't seem like there's a big consensus. Like I think that's the really good thing.
I like that. Yeah.
The injury is that there's not really any one standout. Like, even by transfers, I'm surprised. Like, Bruno Fernandes seems to me like an obvious, like, the money's high, he's had some form, and then I look, and he's the 7th most, or 8th most transferred in for midfielders. And I'm like, I guess that's good, as someone has Bruno. Like, I don't necessarily want everyone heaping on him, but even him, I'm like, there's not like a consensus where everyone's like, well, now you gotta go. You got to get Bruno in your team. It's like, no, you could make the case for a lot of these guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think for me, going to Madison, I know that there are other good options. I think he's just going to be the most consistent out of a lot of the names, and for whatever reason, the pundits are throwing names out there, and I'm not saying that they're bad names, they're all good names, but they seem to be leaving out a lot of them, James Madison, and I don't understand it. You just look over the entire season. Number one, he's in the Spurs offense, and even when they're getting thumped by 6 goals, they're still figuring out a way to score 3. You know, they're the kings of getting beat 4-0 or beating someone 4-0. I mean, you never know what you're going to get with them, but you do know that I think Spurs are still at the top of the league, or right 1 or 2 in goals scored, and I don't think that's going to change halfway through the season. I think they're going to continue to do that. So if James Madison is in the middle of that, and/or Kulusevski, if anyone said, Brian, I think pre-pod we were talking about that, Kulusevski has been on fire for Spurs as well. I think, Brian, you said he scored in 3 straight games?
Yeah, he's got goals in 3 straight. Anything that happened against Liverpool feels a little, I don't know, it feels more like garbage time. But I mean, they're gonna play. I mean, that's the thing. Like Ange said it. I mean, they're not changing their style, so they're always going to go for goals. And whoever is starting, I think the thing with Kulusevski is that there is a security of minutes with him.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, looking over the season, like 2 games where he came off the bench so far. So he's probably not going to do it. I feel like, I don't know that you can count on, I mean, Madison has done it recently, but even like, you know, we said it last week, even against Chelsea, like, comes off the bench and gets an assist in his 11 minutes. And this week, even though he goes off early, he still got a goal before he went off early. But you're right, Dave. I mean, he's getting the returns. I think the tricky thing is just defensively, they're still frail. Just a great, you know, the way that Sky had it. I don't know if it showed on NBC Sports here, but just showing like in December. So far in December, Spurs defense is the worst. They're 20th in goals conceded, they're 20th in shots faced, they're 20th in shots on target faced.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure a big chunk of that now is they're getting shellacked by Liverpool, but they're basically at the bottom, but like, it's not like, you know, just looking at even the Spurs accounts responding to that, they're down a goalkeeper, they're down 3 center backs.
Yeah.
They're down another starting defender against, you know, Udogie's not out there against Liverpool. And then, you know, one of their best defensive midfielders is out. So it's like, there's just so many injuries that they're going to have to compensate. They're really not going to be fully healthy with all of these people back until February. So
Yeah.
I don't think I think maybe if anybody's like, if it's off-putting to think getting any of them in, I just don't know why. Like, even in the top 10 or so transfers in, like, Dave, you love Madison. He's the second most transferred in for midfield. Kulusevski's 9th.
And I think Madison should be. I really do. And also, this is not an American fantasy football podcast, but oftentimes in American fantasy football, when you have a receiver or running back or quarterback on a team with a poor defense, they're always going to be behind or having to try to score, and so oftentimes that is advantageous to you if you own a quarterback, receiver, or running back whose defense on their own team is poor. And I just wonder, you're right, Spurs have been hammered with injuries, and they're going to have to continue to try to outscore people. And obviously, you're always trying to outscore people in world football, soccer. But in this scenario, the games might be higher scoring than normal just because of the Spurs' weaknesses and injuries that they've had in defense.
Well, and the strategy, right? I mean, that's what Ange is taking the biggest hits on right now in this difficult time for Spurs is it's about time you stop being so open by putting so many people forward and being so aggressive offensively. You need to change your defensive shape when your personnel is crappy as it is, and figure it out so that you stop leaking goals, because it doesn't matter if you score a bunch if the other team scores more, right? And he has been unfazed by that criticism and has, if anything, doubled down on his strategy in a way such that it probably feeds the narrative that you're selling here, regardless of how the defense is playing, truthfully. To that end, Dave, is Kulusevski even in consideration for you? Madison is your pick. Could you be persuaded to go towards Kulusevski?
So you can look back over the season, and Kulusevski in the last 3 weeks in 2 of the games against Chelsea and Liverpool, 7, 8, and 7. He's got a 6-5-9 against Manchester United early in the season, and the match with 6 he had an 11.
Yeah.
He's got another 6 against Everton. So his consistency has been pretty good. When you compare that with Madison just has some numbers that kind of, he's got double digits.
Yeah.
He's got 4 games with double digits. He's got a
He's
few
really
others with
like peaks and valleys.
7s.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like Madison, plus who's on, I guess Son's on penalties for them, right? They don't,
Probably, yeah.
Spurs should get more penalties than they get. But Madison's also taking free kicks. He's also taking corners.
That's fair.
And I think that, and he just seems to be in the middle more centrally. And I think for me, I'm going to do it this week. I haven't done it. I'm going to do it right here on the pod. Unless, Brian, you can convince me or Travis that someone else is a better ad than James Madison, or there's a standout person that you're like, Dave, you really need to consider this person. I think my move going forward is at the moment, at least for this week, will be Madison and Saka out.
What about Phil Foden? Not to transition too early. He did score a goal. He looked, and I watched the goal, and I immediately thought, maybe he's found the motivation that he didn't have up to this point because of the nature of the scrappy nature of the goal. It was a heart push. I'm gonna get on the end of this ball type of goal, and he out-muscled, out-wanted, if you will, the defense and poked the ball in. And it didn't matter because City's terrible right now. But at the end of the day, he's still capable, and he looks motivated, at least in his furrowed brow demeanor. Is that possible that magically he just figures it out?
Yeah, I think so. Brian, what's your opinion, and then I'll go after that.
I think it's so, Manchester City's making it so hard to trust, not just trust, to care.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, he was much better. I mean, 6 shots for Foden this week, 4 of them on target. Obviously that's better than you've seen from him, not just because he hasn't played all that much, but, he is far and away the most productive Manchester City player this week. Only Grealish. They're so bad. Honestly, looking over that, like Holland and Guardiola and Kovacic with 1 shot, Grealish with 3, and Foden goes for 6 shots. It's the only offense for them, and it's in it's stoppage time.
Garbage time, yeah, basically.
So that's the part, he's been, I feel like, didn't he post something even about, kind of the criticism that he's taken, just his social media responses of posting his Young Player of the Year, or Player of the Year award from last year, it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, they don't really have a lot of room to talk. The one thing that's good is that it's Everton less than 3. So, and then even if you want to count Brentford and Ipswich after, once you go, after the break in January, basically 5 matches in a row where the fixtures at least are on plus for them.
You're not afraid of Everton?
Maybe we should be. I mean, just honestly, like, I cannot be more...
Clean sheet Everton.
Yeah, clean sheet Everton is right.
I mean, again, I don't want to transition too much off of City's doom because it's terrible, but at the same time, Everton is doing the exact opposite, right? Like, we're expecting City to do well, and they're sucking. We're expecting Everton to concede, and they're just not.
So what you need to do, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how to feel about them. They're so awful. I just, defensively, like, you can't argue, like we were looking at, you know, it's 5 clean sheets in the last 6 games, and 4 of them are 0-0s. And 2, you know, the last 2 are against, it's Chelsea and Arsenal clean sheets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's nothing to slouch about.
Dave, here's what you need to do, and then Travis, you need to do it. You need to explain to the people at home, Dave, why are you replacing Saka? Like, are you even thinking about Odegaard as a replacement?
Thinking about it, I don't know. Maybe I'd kind of like to see a proper return before I do that. I just don't think the minutes, or not the minutes, I just don't think the fantasy points necessarily will translate. You know, the obvious thing I think that's going to happen, the last week, Jesus in the Carabao Cup, and then Jesus against Palace on the weekend, had a total of 5 goals and 1 assist. A hat-trick midweek in the Carabao Cup, and on the weekend, 2 goals and an assist. I think the obvious thing at this point is just to have Jesus start in Saka's spot on the wing, especially because Raheem Sterling did something to his knee midweek. So he was normally the backup for Saka, and now he's not available. So, and he has an unknown return date as well. So, other than the fact that Arsenal might possibly be looking to buy in January, and again, I don't know how much they're going to be looking. I'm sure they're probably going to be looking for someone on the loan. Someone that they don't have to be full-time committed to yet, because when Saka's healthy, obviously he'll be starting. And if you're with your weight and salt on another team, do you really want to come in to an Arsenal team where you know Saka's going to be starting, and chances are, even if you play your best, you'll never be able to start? With that being said, there is one person in the league that is unsettled where he is and could slot in there very nicely on loan, and that is one Marcus Rashford. So, I don't know. That's pretty interesting. I think Arsenal is foolish if they don't at least look at that, make a phone call, have their people call his people and say, hey, is this even something you'd be wanting to do on loan? Because I'm sure Manchester United would like to get him out of the locker room.
You don't think they're burnt by Sterling at this point?
Well,
like the idea is the same, right?
Problems. He just hasn't performed, and if they can get Marcus Rashford on a loan, they have Sterling on a loan. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, that's not a long-time commitment. And then, you know, there's been rumors around Arsenal for the last couple of years that if Rashford came in and performed, they'd offer him a contract. So this might be the perfect opportunity just to get a trial run to the end of the season and take a 6-month loan on him.
Yeah. So I thought the same thing, Brian. My brain literally went straight. Okay, Saka's out. I can't afford, you know, 1 or 2 of the more expensive options. So Odegaard. But as quickly as my brain went to Odegaard, it went away from Odegaard, and it switched because of what Dave said. There just aren't any returns, right? I mean, at this point, I mean, guys like Jacob Murphy have more returns than he does. But then immediately, and Dave, I don't know if we've discussed this or not. I didn't catch it, but then immediately it was, why not Trossard? Who's going to benefit?
Dave, roll out the options on your own team. So you're saying no. I mean, it's hard to say in the last 4 weeks because Saka had no returns in the last 4 weeks. I mean, maybe he was on his way to something in this game, but who knows? They scored too many goals against Palace that you would imagine that he wouldn't have had something to do with one of the goals that they scored had he stayed in there. So it's kind of hard to judge what he would have done. But still, it's 4 weeks where Saka has gotten nothing. Odegaard, same bits of nothing. But Martinelli finally scored in the game for you guys. Yeah, Trossard is, just assume that Trossard will start more. Like, maybe saying, like, forget all of those guys. Like, Martinelli maybe just because he's, if you feel like he's back in some kind of form where you could count on that. If that's an option, fine. Or are you saying forget all the other attacking Arsenal players? If you really want to risk it, go for Jesus only. Ignore the Havertz goal too. Just go for Jesus and make it. And I know it's not. I know he's not a midfielder, but I'm just saying, like,
I wouldn't ignore yes, I would ignore all the midfielders. I would ignore all the midfielders. I don't think there's a one-for-one replacement for Saka and his numbers. I think goals will be distributed throughout the rest of the squad. I don't know if Trossard's going to get a run. I think Jesus might start in that position, but I wouldn't bet my life on it. But I do know this, when Arteta has a player who's hot, he does not pull them out of the lineup. So I do not expect Jesus to come out of the starting lineup as he has 5 goals and 1 assist in the last 2 games, regardless of if it was against Palace or not. So I would not move to Martinelli. I would not move to Trossard. I would not move to Rice or Odegaard. And if you wanted to get wild, and depending on how your money is, and taking a punt on Jesus right now, who's red hot, or if you wanted to go back to something that's a little bit more solid and keeping it on Havertz, I think Havertz will continue to play center forward. So
he's still classified as a forward, though, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he is.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, he's not in midfield this season. He is absolutely a forward. So, if you wanted to get wild and crazy, and you really felt like you wanted into the Arsenal attack, I feel like the safest place at the moment, crazy as it is to say, is Jesus and or Havertz.
Okay, so skip the other midfielders.
I would skip the other midfielders.
Travis, tell us why not Luis Diaz or Szoboszlai.
Honestly, I will say Luis Diaz might actually be a reasonable option at this point.
He's not going to be fool's gold like he was last time.
The primary reason is that he's not playing on the left like he was last time. He's playing through the middle as the central striker because Darwin isn't able to convert. And so I just see that there's been a recognition of success with Diaz as the basically playing as the 9 up top, and I think it will continue unless Darwin finds a vein of form, which, let's be honest, everybody keeps hoping for it, especially Liverpool people, and it's just not there. I would be more surprised by Diaz not continuing his form than I would of Liverpool selling Diaz in January, honestly, at this point. So I think Diaz is a reasonable option, especially given the fact that, I don't remember, I think it was maybe Brian or Dave, I don't remember which one of you guys said it. You need an option around 7-something, right? That's what we really need to replace Saka, and Diaz could definitely be it. Szoboszlai, on the other hand, is not consistent enough and needs to score more than he is. He found a goal, but at the end of the day, he probably should have found 3 against Tottenham. And that's been the primary criticism. Is he's involved. He's largely been doing the dirty work. But when he finds himself forward in situations, he's not able to finish the way that he needs to, as clinically as he needs to. He's not a striker, so we're not surprised necessarily. But if he wants to be fantasy relevant, he's going to have to put those chances away, and he just does not. He does not have a history thus far of doing that, and so I don't think he is a relevant option at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if the money's straight up, if it's just, you have the full, the full $10 or whatever,
yeah,
$1.5 or however many dollars, if it's straight up, there really isn't. That's the thing. All of the expensive guys. Like if you have Saka and you don't have Palmer or Salah, I think that's obvious. And you
yeah,
track down the extra money.
Figure it out. Find some money.
Find some money.
Maybe you gotta find some money.
That's right.
Last week.
That's right.
But like Son at 9.8, not appealing enough probably.
No.
The other cheaper
He looked
options
lost this week.
Yeah. more appealing on the cheaper guys. I don't think, Foden is close at 9.1. It's not going to De Bruyne, even though he didn't even play this week against Aston Villa, so he couldn't possibly go there. That's the thing, like, none of the other, like, expensive options. That's why I'm saying I'm a little surprised that more people, that Bruno at 8.4 isn't third on that list or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised he's not higher on the transfers in, but whatever. I mean,
I already have him, and it hasn't been a real great couple of weeks. Let's just say that.
Well, I mean,
he's been fine, but just in general, it hasn't done wonders for my team. I've got nothing but red arrows the last 4 weeks. It's been not great.
Week, like, all the number pile up for him was great, but he just, 7 shots, tied for the most of anybody on the game week. Total goal involvement right around 1. Like, pretty unlucky to not come away with something against. Who did Manchester United get smashed by? Bournemouth?
Yeah.
Yes, at home against Bournemouth. That was supposed to go the other way probably for them. No, but I think that's why all of the other, like, the 7, like, basically 7.7 and under, so many of those guys got you something this week. Wait, Travis, you don't have Bowen anymore? Or you
No, I sold him a good while ago to get Saka.
Okay, so Bowen got an assist and a bonus point this week. I think he's a tricky one just because...
He's just a hair too high, and his matchups aren't great. And West Ham is starting to turn a corner, it feels like.
It's Southampton away this week for West Ham, but then after that, the last 2 fixtures before the break are home Liverpool at Manchester City. So, like, if you could punt on him for a week, he'd probably be the guy. It's just, like, you're buying him probably to feel terrible about having him for game week 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So Bowen is a guy, like, he's highest quality, or one of the highest quality players you could replace in there, but
he's fun to watch do nothing. Yeah.
1 week of 2 weeks of feeling terrible.
I just don't think it's worth going. I mean, I don't know. Bowen's never entered my radar this year.
Travis, so you're saying no, you're saying yes, Diaz, not really Szoboszlai or Jota.
Yeah, correct. Jota is an interesting one because when he plays, he tends to score. The issue right now is, for whatever reason, he's not getting minutes, and I think the for whatever reason is Diaz is tearing it up through the middle, and so they don't have a need to rush Jota back. And so at this point, I think Diaz is the better pick than Diogo.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I think out of all the players you could throw in there, I mean, Morgan Rogers. I mean, so many people threw Morgan Rogers away.
He looks so good.
He's looked good all season, but it's just not. He just has never been consistent.
Well, no, but that was the beauty of the City match. Is that not only did he look good, he converted.
Yeah.
He just cut him open. Everything he did, he just looked like he outclassed them on the pitch, and had the returns. It was the wow. What did they pay for him from Middlesbrough? Next to nothing. I bet Middlesbrough's wishing they would ask for more today, and they're absolutely right.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. Look, Morgan Rogers has been fantastic all season. I have owned him at one time, and of course, I'm sure I owned him when he did nothing.
I just think he needs to be your
where he did do nothing.
He needs to be your last midfielder. Like there's at this point, pretty much everybody's got Holland money. He needs to be your last midfielder, enabling everything else. There's no reason not to at this stage. He or Jacob Murphy potentially, but he has, I think, at this stage shown that even when he has down weeks, that he's capable of so much more and worth the 5 something that he is, to just drop him into a holding tank and just, if you bench him, you bench him. If you play him, you're not going to be disappointed because he's at least going to get you 2 points and he's likely to get more.
Sorry, my fault.
No, you're right.
I
Who would you rather own other than him?
Enzo and Diallo or Ahmad over Rodgers.
So on form though, those guys, seem to be fine, right? But Enzo hasn't done it for as long as Rodgers has, and Diallo has played like Rodgers, but has returned far less than Rodgers in a team that is kind of sucky right now. Let's just say it that way, right? He doesn't have a static cast of players around him that you can count on one way or the other, right? Whereas Villa, their lineup is roughly set. They've got a form guy up ahead of him, right? And if he doesn't play, they've got a guy with a pedigree ahead, that can come on, right? So at the very least, he's going to have a potential for an assist or get service from somebody that's got good quality. So I just think that Rodgers is a good hold. Now, I'm saying all this not owning Rodgers, right? I have Enzo in Iwobi because I am chasing points like nobody's business right now, trying to find something to deal with the last 4 weeks being, 10, 15 points off the pace.
So they asked all the Morgan Rodgers former managers who sold him last week to buy Amad Diallo how they feel about that.
Well, you're one of them, aren't you?
I know. Listen, but just don't get soured on one of me.
No, Dave. No, you said Semenyo. That's who it was. It wasn't Rodgers.
Travis, to combat your point against Rodgers outscoring Enzo and Diallo in the season, Rodgers played 1,400 minutes this season, 250 more minutes than Enzo, and 500 more minutes than Diallo. So
yeah,
when you look at it like that, it is significant, and I would continue to say, look, Rodgers has looked really good all season. It took an inept City defense, which they have been all season, to give Rodgers 14 points. You can look at his other games before this, and he's given you some form of a decent return. But before that, against Forest, it was 2. Then Southampton 2. 8 against Brentford, 2 against Chelsea, 2 against Palace, 1 against Liverpool. So you can. I don't know.
He was digging against Akanji and Kyle Walker, which I know that doesn't strike fear the way that it has in the past. But they're quality players, right? That's the thing for me is it's not just about the fact that City sucks. Those guys aren't terrible, right? And he made them look bad, right? And many have, that to be fair. So I can't say enough nice things about Rodgers. I think Rodgers is a good own and a hold. I think he's a hold. And when I have a chance to wild card again in the new year, that will be a mistake that I rectify because I held him from the beginning of the season up until my terrible run of form 4 weeks ago. My slide 4 weeks ago.
All right. What was that turn in your horrible run of form 4 weeks ago, Travis?
I honestly just got a little cavalier and started taking bigger chances, and none of them paid off. That's really what it came down to. I was middling, and I wanted to move up the table, and that's what happens. Right around that time of the season, I either give up or I start working harder to find points. and I started working harder to find points, and I needed to just do the consistent, safer things. And so I just started taking punts on guys that I was like, oh, they're going to hit. I can feel it. They're going to hit. And then it just, and then I leave the casino with no clothes on, right? So I've been walking around naked for a couple weeks here. It's not been good. I mean, even so much as, my last big hit was, okay, Iwobi is due. He's gonna hit. And it was nothing, right? It was terrible. So all that to say, I'm out of transfers and clothing. So let's move on to a segment we like to call "I'm Sorry, Everton," because Brian has two things that he wants to talk about. We've kind of touched a little bit on Everton and their surprising solidarity at defense. We haven't talked about the fact that Aina actually did something. We collectively, Brian, I see your body language there, but we collectively all felt the same, I think. Why the heck are people buying this guy? He's not really doing that much. There's other guys who are statistically more relevant than he is, and cheaper. Why are people buying him? Well, I guess we know why.
Brian, is there something that you need to say?
No, this isn't an apology moment. This is a small thing.
I'm just asking, are we getting...
I don't think we need an apology 2 weeks in a row. It's just...
No, you're getting one. Yeah, it's to two.
Well, that's true.
It's like we said. I mean, I could not have shouted it more loudly. That what are you going to do with your Everton players? You going to buy an Everton defender for a run of red, horrible matchups that are endless, basically, well into January? Are you gonna, you're gonna buy those guys? Well, you probably should have, because you would have gotten a lot of points. And then, Ola Aina, I said it, I would still say it, even now, as wrong as I can be, it just does not look good whenever he gets a 15.
It defies logic, though, right? I mean...
What?
It defies logic, right?
Yeah, I mean, did you see his goal?
Yeah.
Did you see how it happened? I mean, it's a ball in the box from Nico Williams that's very obviously going to Chris Wood, and Chris Wood just tries to get a touch on it, and it's in traffic, and it skips.
It was a great
everybody.
ball. It was a great ball, though. I was really impressed by that ball, truthfully.
And it just goes straight through to Aina, who's making a run, and he perfectly puts it away. I mean, there's nothing to say about it except, Dave, I mean, it's not going to be, it's going to be our secondary approach.
Okay, that's fair.
To everyone who did Everton or started an Everton defender, or who is one of the many who has driven Ola Aina's price up to $5 now.
Yikes.
I was wrong. You were right. You're the best. I'm the worst.
Yeah.
You are very good looking. I am not attractive. Just totally wrong.
Can he keep doing it?
It's the same. I mean, look, he puts one shot on target. He takes 2 shots. That's more than he has.
Yeah.
In a game. But yeah, still 1 shot on target, 1 goal. An XG in the game of 0.13. So I don't know what to tell you. If you did it and you started him, I was gonna say the defense. I mean, honestly, the defense this week it was better than in a lot of weeks, unless of course. But,
you okay over there, Dave?
Sesame seed.
I'm a little worried about you there. Sesame
Everything
seed? You
bagel.
didn't have
Bagel
man,
this morning.
sesame seeds for weeks. Still stuck in your teeth? Wow. You should brush those things, man.
What I was going to say is that what you have now, you had so many defenders. I mean, there's, 6 clean sheets this week, I think.
Yeah.
And more importantly,
A lot.
there's 6 clean sheets from a lot of trendy teams and trendy defenses. So, Nottingham Forest gets one. If you're one of the many, Lewis Hall, anybody who got Lewis Hall, Newcastle grabs one.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Everton, Fulham. So anybody who went to Robinson or late in the week, the Castania propaganda started going up. Is that the title this week? Castania propaganda.
Dave's got a lizard going in his background there. That's freaking me out.
Castania propaganda.
That's good.
But basically, yeah, so you have, I feel like defense is, you might be tempted to go that way. I would just want to say that it's, the defenders, it could be fool's gold, Dave, on Opta grounds. Opta this week giving some really great numbers on the Boxing Day scoring.
Oh, yeah.
Higher or lower?
Higher. Much higher. Yeah.
So, last year, I think the last year Boxing Day was one of the highest
Yep.
goals.
It was.
Sorry, the last Oh my goodness, the last 3 years or whatever, it's been real.
Just going up and up and up and up.
Higher.
So that's a good segue to our next section, which is forward clarity. Obviously, we've got Isak, who is just destroying everybody this week. Cunha's giving you returns and is, still not. We still don't have a clear picture of what he's going to face with potential charges yet. So he's still valid. Who else are we looking at this point? I mean, obviously Isak and Cunha are good. Havertz came out of nowhere and is scoring again, both outside the league and in the league. Jackson didn't return, but we're not worried. What do we even want to talk about relative to that?
And also to sneak on that list, and it's crazy, but Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Somehow sneaks on. He's at a 6'8".
Yeah.
Not that expensive. And if you want a guy in form, you're not going to find many who have scored 5 in the last week and 1 assist.
He's streaky, too. Jesus has historically been very, very streaky in his career. And so when he starts scoring, he doesn't stop scoring until an injury, typically.
Yeah, that's fair. So it just sounds crazy because I'm not doing it this week. I already made my one transfer. I had to get Saka out. But if you said going forward, would you rather have, like if Jesus starts this weekend and he gives you anything, I would rather have Jesus going forward with Arsenal's schedule than Cunha.
Let me ask you this. So I have Cunha, and have for a long time. So I've ridden that wonderful vein of form,
in the last 2 weeks,
which is excellent. However, going back to my slide, the one major thing that I didn't mention that actually has hurt me more than probably anything else is the fact that I don't have a lot of money to play with. And the reason why I don't have a lot of money to play with is because I've held Haaland waiting for City to turn the corner because no one else has, right? So my biggest looking for points play was betting on City to turn it around and figure it out. And they haven't. And so I've held Haaland. So my question to you, Dave, is...
This is the weirdest.
It is. And in retrospect, it's a terrible play. But in my defense, it has been doing the same thing that Pep has said, which is these are champions. These guys have multiple Premier League titles under their belt. They know how to win, right? And they do. But they are not, right? So in retrospect, it was a bad play. But in my defense, I had history on my side in this one, right? If only for Haaland for last season, right? So he's dropped off. He's terrible. I still own him, which is a mistake. Would you go Haaland to Jesus right now?
All right, great question, and I thought this is where you were going. So at first I want to say yes, that was the stupidest move. But
hands up.
Caveat. So you've held on to him through thick and thin here, and it's been thin for a while.
Yeah.
Look, they lost to Bournemouth, then Brighton, and then both who in the top 10 of the table.
Yeah, and now they're going up against a very stout Everton team.
They lose to Spurs, which is a shock, but Spurs can beat anyone on any day.
Yeah.
Then Liverpool. Then they miraculously somehow beat top 4 Forest.
Yeah.
Then they draw Palace, and then they lose in United and Villa. All of those teams I just mentioned are either a bigger club and or in the top 10 of the table, with the exception of Palace that they drew.
Which Palace has been good.
Saying all that, the clubs upcoming, Everton, Leicester, West Ham.
Leicester and West Ham do not scare me at all against City. I think City will do well against them.
And then Ipswich. So in the next 5 games...
I am really struggling with that.
3 of the next 5 are away.
Yeah.
But you're looking at teams from the bottom of the table, not big clubs and not clubs in the top half of the table.
Yes.
So I say all this to say, if you've held on to them for this long...
I agree, and I wanted to hear that. That's exactly why I pitched that. I wanted to hear that because no one else is going to have him, and I think that there's something brewing at City. I absolutely think there's something brewing. There's no way, and I've been very wrong in the past, but there's no way that a team of this caliber continues to slide through the entirety of the season. The real question becomes, when do they figure it out, or when do they get the right guys back from injury, knowing that Rodri is the most important and he's not coming back? Or who do they buy to help solve the problems, knowing that there's a lot hanging over their heads? At some point they figure it out, and I don't think that everybody's just going to jump back on the bandwagon very quickly. I want to be on it when it comes back. The issue for me, though, is I am bleeding points waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, the hard thing with Holland, too, is that for most, I mean, we talked about it a lot, like most of the numbers, depending on what time frame you use, almost all the time frame, no matter who you compare him to, the underlying numbers have been amazing.
Yes.
Just the return has been bad. In the last 4 weeks, Holland has only taken 7 shots.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the more concerning part.
I mean, it's more than Ola Aina, which is great,
Yeah, he is out shooting Ola Aina, so that's the one positive for him.
Very similar players.
That, he's taken less shots than any other player you're considering. Right. There is no one on the current list of players you're thinking about bringing in.
Yeah.
Maybe Wissa is the one guy, or Joao Pedro, because Holland has 7 shots. Pedro has 6. Wissa has 5. But other than that, every other striker that you could name is
Wissa was the guy I was going to.
In the last 4 games.
So the reason why I've held Holland as long as I have has been because I own Holland at the expense of Palmer. And I have been looking to move from Holland to Palmer, but to be totally honest, Palmer's on a bit of a cold streak, for lack of a better way of saying it. Irony in play there. And the motivation has been low. Because honestly, the points have been relatively similar over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks. And so I haven't been super motivated to get Holland out in order to move to Palmer. And honestly, Joao Pedro or who's the other one you just said? Who was the other one you just said? Because that's who I was actually looking at going towards. I just brain farted. Joao Pedro and who else had you literally? Wissa, yes, sorry, Wissa. That's exactly it. It was going to be Joao Pedro or Wissa, and neither of them have been the beneficiaries of much. Again, over the course of the last 5 weeks, Wissa has been very instrumental in Shada's rise over the course of that same span, but has not done a lot of scoring himself. So it probably would have been Holland out, Wissa in, Palmer in, and then I move on. And honestly, my point total would have been really similar to just keeping Holland in the first place, right?
Travis, I know how that you can fix this problem.
Quit.
So bear with me.
Just
for
quit.
this. I know that you have a direct connection to your Viking heritage directly to Holland's neighborhood and mom.
Yeah.
And if
I
I
should
was you,
call Kirsten's
I would get the
cousin.
message to his mom,
Yeah.
get the message to Erling, that if he just comes out publicly and says, I should have never told Arteta to stay humble, that jinx would single-handedly change City's season around, and all of a sudden Old City is back to form.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's in your control, Travis.
Let me get on the phone. I need to go get some cards from the gas station so I can make my international phone calls, and I'll see what I can do.
You are probably 1 or 2 degrees away from getting in touch with Erling's.
I don't know. I mean, it seemed that simple.
With her.
That's right. And the sad thing is, as silly as that sounds, I legitimately think you might be right. It really comes down to, that's so wild. All right, so we've talked about forward clarity, but we have not yet discussed the hot guys is a must-own at this point, correct?
Yeah, I sure. I mean, Brian, there's no way he's not a complete must.
The thing that Isak is doing that's crazy is that
Scoring.
he's you just like take the last 4 weeks. Number one forward stats. He's 5 attempted assists, 5 chances created better than the next best forward. The 14 shots and 13 chances created.
Who is the next best forward at this point?
5 big chances created. That's the thing. He's in the top of all players for a first half and for chance creation. Yes, and you're gonna see, like, just looking through pictures, the fact that Aston Villa is great, Manchester United is great, Spurs away, now red.
Yeah.
After all we just said about what is available numbers on the Spurs defense in December, first. Then they play Wolves when you come back from the break. Like, there's nothing about Aston Villa defensively, Manchester United defensively, or Spurs defensively that any way. I mean, it's the lightest possible shade of gray.
Yeah.
But definitely hedging towards green. All of it. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have. The only caveat with him ever is that he's one hamstring tightness away
Yeah.
time on the bench. The thing that really messed up forwards for everybody was that Jesus went crazy and John Durant scored again. I think otherwise all of the people who would have wanted were basically the same as they were before. Yeah, Dave, I mean, you've made enough of a case for Jesus, I think. John Durant is the one, and I don't know how he doesn't just keep starting. I mean, the guy's just been...
It's just...
He was at the beginning of the season. All he wanted was fine, but now, like, 3 straight starts for Durant and back to 3 straight goals again.
Yeah.
It's just great. Like, the thing that everyone needs to deal with, like, we talked about, him last week. I got rid of him finally. I think a guy in a timeshare with Rodrigo Muniz, he is, to me, a safe sell. It's clearly a mention that is the one, just because we don't have, I mean, Wolves' official page, like Wolves.com, in their preview for Manchester United, the Manchester United match, the first thing that they're saying is it's still yet to be seen if Wolves will have Matheus Cunha available after his misconduct charge. They don't even know.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
FPL Black Wolf, who we've referenced a ton, he said it yesterday. Like, there's no confirmation on the ban. He said, I don't know if or when it will be officially announced, but he's suggesting just hold him and start him and have a good first bench option. So, like, until they officially announce it, like, it's not like he's a bad. He's still a great choice. That's why I said, like, looking at forward transfers in, he's the 4th most transferred in. More people transferred Cunha in this week than have transferred in Nicholas Jackson or Chris Wood. Like, I wouldn't do that, but the people have spoken. So I feel like the list went from being really narrow after Isak, the transfers in for forwards, to now where it's like there's kind of 5 guys.
Yeah.
Jesus, Duran. How risky do you feel getting Cunha? I still think Nicholas Jackson. I don't know what is putting people off of Nicholas Jackson. Like, I mean, Chelsea's schedule's still the best, and Chris Wood is about to go on a run too. I think of minimally useful matches. I don't know. It's Solanke's at the 6th on the list. He's got 3 straight returns too.
Yeah.
Low ceiling, but great player, and he's still getting something. So, yeah, I feel like that it's not a straightforward. Like, for me, it was straightforward. I don't have Isak. I'm getting Isak. That was it.
Yeah.
So after that, I think, if you have the moves that you need to move someone on, you're sick of Joao Pedro, just for transfers out,
people still like Holland is down to the cheapest that he's been for the season. Danny Welbeck was, sadly,
Who?
Danny Welbeck
Right.
is still around 10% selected, Dave. Just now he hit his fitness max. He got those 20 minutes a few weeks ago, and now it's like it's going to be a week-to-week thing with him.
Yeah.
João Pedro, you think, steps in and fills in all the gap that was left over, and that's not happening either. I mean,
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, I think the obvious guys are still pretty obvious. The one wrinkle is now that you got Jesus, who you didn't expect to be there at all, and then John Duran, who you've seen do it, who is now getting the minutes. So,
And the only reason why Jesus even is mentioned is because Saka's injury. Otherwise, I'm not sure that there's going to be a starting spot there. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
but
All right.
So Travis, you're saying you are not like, I think the recommendation.
I just made my moves. So let's transfer to night moves. Let's move to night moves captains. Partially because our audio is degrading to the point where my brain is scrambled, and I have so much post-production work to do on your audio that I am never going to see my family over this Christmas. I just made my moves. I made my decisions. I like this. I'm happy with the decisions that I made. I moved from Delap, Ipswich's Delap, who is serving a ban and is now back. I moved from Delap to Isak because I did not own Isak. I was on Holland and Cunha and Delap, which I think is fantastic. And then I moved from Saka to Rodgers because I just talked a big game about Rodgers, and it was worth owning him. So I moved Saka to Rodgers, which enabled me to run Delap to Isak, and I now have how much do I have? I have I have 1.9 in my bank right now, which is fantastic because I've got some work to do on defense as well, which I will do next week. I did have to take a hit to do it. Because I only had one transfer this game week. But I think that's a good move. So that is the move that I made this week, or the moves that I made this week. I did hold Holland. I held him. I like him against Everton.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, although
They're going to sit deep. It's going to be tough.
Offense over the last 6 weeks is playing against arguably the number one defense in the league over the last 6 weeks, which is, can't believe I'm saying that. But, no, Travis, I don't hate that. At least adding Isak and Rodgers, you're not falling behind when those guys score, right?
Yeah.
So is it a move that's going to catch you up on people? No, but you could also argue that you not getting rid of Holland could be your move that sets you apart from people.
Yeah.
The move that you don't make, Brian. Sometimes that's always the best move is the move that you don't make, right?
Honestly, sometimes it works out that way.
Travis, who captaining this week?
I'm going to go Salah again. I'm going to ride the hot hand. Ride the hot hand. I'm going Salah, riding the hot hand.
Okay, agree 100%. My night moves, I made a move for Madison. I sold Saka, and I went with Mr. James Madison, and I am captaining Mr. Mohamed Salah with a vice captain, probably on Isak. Palmer.
All right.
I'll probably put it on Palmer. Vice captain on Palmer this week. Brian.
Yeah, my moves are done. I had 2 free transfers. I went, like I said, Raul Jimenez out, Isak in, and Saka
Like that.
out. Ismail Assar.
I really thought about doing that. I like that move.
I like the fixtures a little bit more, I think, for Crystal Palace. I think they've got a lot. I mean, already, honestly, if there was any certainty of minutes for Eze, I would have thought about it. If he had not gotten hurt, I probably would have gone to him. But now that he's coming back from injury, obviously not an option. I'm sure they'll take it easy with him, just like they were doing before he got hurt. We didn't say Mateta in the.
That's true.
But I think the price for him probably pushes him into the second tier of
Still.
But yeah, Isak in, Sar in, Raul and Saka out.
I like Sar. I think
don't know
Sar was really... Go ahead, sorry.
I don't know how you don't captain Salah.
Yeah.
I feel like going away from him against Leicester.
It's crazy, town.
Yeah, it's insane. They've been like leaking goals like crazy too.
Yeah, vice captain will be on Bruno at Wolves. Although with Trent in the team, maybe Trent is a viable vice captain. There's just too many attacking options that are good.
I can't overstate that Sar pick. I think that's a really, really good pick. We didn't spend a lot of time on him, but I agree that is definitely a guy that is primed to start continuing to give some returns. I like that.
Yeah, the good thing with Sar, I mean, he's been really not just clinical, and that's not the only reason why to get people in, but he's got, he's still taking a decent number of shots, but he's got 6 shots on target in the last 4 games.
Very involved.
The third best for forwards, or for midfielders, I mean. I just like his involvement. But yeah, there's so many, that's the thing, there's so many, I would say, very good options. He's good, but everyone that we've said, anyone that you're looking at, I think you can make the case for any of them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it just has to do with trying to move else.
Yeah.
Again, I think the weird thing with defenders is, like Bournemouth got a clean sheet. Like, I don't know how many defenders people want to move along, but like Bournemouth, if you went to like Kirkhouse or whoever, it was Howson again. Their central defender scored again this week. He goes for another pretty huge game. He's only 4.3. If you didn't go for Aina, if you didn't go for Murillo or Milenkovic for Nottingham Forest, eat from them, and probably some, I think you got bonus points this week. Like there are so many of those type of players. And now we're like, Howson is 4.3, like we said. Mikolenko is still 4.3.
Yeah.
I mean, there are just so many of those, like, kind of low price defenders. Definitely less than 5. But then multiple guys who are under 4.5, who I think can really free up some of that other money, especially if you're looking to move on. Like, I don't know, Guardiola's still in 22% of, like, that's a lot. I don't know how eager you are to move him on.
Yeah.
Fixtures they have coming up, but it hasn't mattered. Like, their last clean sheet was against Nottingham Forest in game week 14. So, and then prior to that, I mean, the one prior to that was game week 9. I just don't see how there's so many of those options where it's like you got to move on from some of the expensive people. But Dave, are you still back in your defense? Just real quick.
It's funny. I was just looking at that. I have Urian Timber. He's the highest priced defender in my team, and I'm like, man, is that even worth it? Now he made a move this week. I'm definitely not taking a hit to move him out, but that's a great call, Brian. It's going to be interesting to see if the philosophy changes a little bit with Saka being out. Does it change at all? Does Arsenal start to tighten up a little bit? Maybe they've been playing a little looser, trying to figure some things out. And now all of a sudden we're getting to the midway through the season, and now all of a sudden does the strategy change a little bit where they start to tighten up a little bit? I think they have the talent in the defense to do that. They have had some injuries defensively they have not been able to run out consistently the same crew all year.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Brian. That's a great question. I definitely I wouldn't say you have to hold on to any. I think if you needed to make some money and you needed to sell a higher-priced Arsenal defender, do it. I also think, though, that if you hold on to them, I think you're going to be okay over the next few match weeks. I can't say that they're going to be a great choice, but I think they'll be okay.
Saka doesn't affect Timber's return simply because Timber just hasn't been an offensive, powerhouse. So Saka being the beneficiary of Timber's forward runs and now missing doesn't affect Timber really at all, because all Timber was getting was defensive returns anyways, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think he might have had one assist, but it wasn't like you were owning Timber. It was just a cheaper way into the Arsenal defense.
Right.
And that was it.
Gabriel was the goal scoring threat. Saliba, it looked like a liability again, oddly, last week. So yeah, Timber or Gabriel definitely makes sense. And
yeah, Gabriel got an assist, so he was the one who did something for you. He'd be the guy. I would want him first.
Yeah.
For second.
If you can afford it.
Yeah, nothing more hilarious than Saliba getting goals in back-to-back games. Maybe more hilarious to me than Ola Aina scoring.
All right, we have engaged the Daft Punk filter on our audio, and I'm gonna need to do some cleanup. What else do we have to talk about now that we have covered what is on our list here? Any last words from Mr. Shesko here?
No, honestly, nothing. Just a huge shout out to the 24,250 people who transferred Bukayo Saka into their team so far. Got to get those early transfers.
Oh my gosh!
Buy the dips. Buy the dips.
Honestly,
wow.
I will never understand it, but I get it. Fixtures are thick and fast, and you got to get those things in there.
Hey, he went down. What, yesterday on the 23rd? So I mean, it's a game of inches, right? Or a game of centimeters.
Yeah, it definitely is. No, I think that's it. I mean, I feel like your decisions are again, like, one guy changed the game week. I do wonder if the strategy coming up, I mean, obviously you're only a few game weeks away from another wild card, so if your team is a disaster, that's, it's right around the corner.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, for sure. But even like this week, it really was helpful to have 2 free transfers for this, for a moment where I needed to move.
Yeah.
So I think, depending on how you're set up, like, barring another disaster of an injury, you might be able just to take who you have to the next
just ride them through the new year. Yeah.
And just bank those transfers now. It seems like most teams should be pretty well situated to kind of navigate, multiple matches in just a few days. So
okay,
that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I think just going into these festive fixtures, my biggest advice would be just that if you can do it, make sure you have a full team and expect subs. Yeah. And the games are kind of coming fast and furious. Maybe not as fast as they used to come, but I do think there will be times where your guy might not get in. And having a full squad is probably a good idea come this time of the year.
As best you can, for sure.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's all I got. All right, well, gentlemen, I think we covered most things. Travis hopefully will be able to cover the auto-tune that has been plaguing my ear from your voice.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Podcast.
Apologies to all those listening. This is the first week that we've done.
It could just be what I'm hearing, Travis.
Yeah, I hear it too. I didn't hear it until about 2/3 of the way through, and then all of a sudden it started coming through. I'm not sure where the noise is coming from. I'll get into Audition and see what I can clean up, but apologies for whatever I can't. It is definitely annoying and borderline unlistenable.
That's right. Let's just hope it doesn't come through on the audio recording. Anyways, all right. Well, gentlemen, we will see you soon. We might be doing the same setup this time next week.
Yeah, we'll see what we got.
I will still be out of town, and we will still have plenty of things to talk about. For the FPL America podcast, this is David Smith. Until next time.